opinions expressed in this show belong to the person expressing them. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of Rancher or any other entity.
You guys, all of you, live chatting, the craziness in the live chat. I almost forgot to start the show because I'm like, oh, everybody's talking. Oh, it's time. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native. My name is Adrian Goins, and I am thrilled to be here with you today on the show, live here on the internet, which is working today. Hooray! The purpose of this show is to share with you news and interesting content related to Kubernetes and Cloud Native, and also DevOps and IoT and security and whatever the heck else the bots find, and make it on the show. And then we're also working to build a community of people who are interested in using technology to live a better life, whatever that means for you. Like, we shouldn't be its slave. We should be, well, we should leverage it so that we can all work less and enjoy life more. If you're watching live, consider following or subscribing to the channel. And if you're watching a replay, then please also give the video a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. Join the free community site and the Discord server. Links to that are scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and they're also blowing up the live chat with GIFs over here. All I see is this thing like scrolling out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, so anyway, there's a bot and stuff happens, and you should just come to Discord because that's like where the real action happens for the show. So let's take a moment and say hello to people that we have today. Oh man, Duck. Good morning. Clint, Mac, Wifebot, Adrian Grimshaw. Hello. Yes, somebody got points for distracting me. That's part of the fun. Hey, Mo says the streaming quality looks super amazing today. Yes, the internet is being particularly well behaved today. So let's, shh, don't say anything. Just, we'll take it. Nuno. Proud that y'all distracted me. Vito, Ian. I already said hello to Mose. We're at the scrolling part where I'm repeating hellos. Smalls. What else do we got here? Wojtek, Cześć, Frank, Clint, Chrysalis, Peter Keach, Ariel. It's funny, the later you show up in the chat, the more likely you are to actually get a shout out because I scroll backwards and then it gets up to, hey, Trufflebot. Today's problem is caused by RPC PMAP failure. Let's start very quickly with some relatively uninteresting news items. The Restream bot does not actually relay bot traffic. I got confirmation from Restream on that this morning. They didn't tell me why, but whatever, it doesn't. So unfortunately, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, the chat there doesn't contain bot stuff from Trufflebot. So sorry, I'll try to come up with a solution for that in the future. Also, today is Wednesday, which means tomorrow is Thursday, and in the United States, that makes it Thanksgiving. So even though I take US holidays, I will still be live streaming tomorrow and Friday. So come hang out. And then just when I'm done with the stream, instead of going to work, I'm going to go to the couch and play video games for the rest of the day. Doesn't sound so bad, right? All right, let's get on with the show. Today is Continuous Inspiration Day. We look inward and share stuff from the CNCN community. Either new members who have created a bio for themselves and I would like to introduce them to people, or content created by community members. A little bit of foreshadowing there. Today I would like to introduce you to Samuel Dan, who joined the community a little while ago, but this is the first time that I've put people from the community on the show. If you would like me to put you on the show, or if you would like to be, considered for being put on the show, please make a bio for yourself. A lot of our community members just have a name. They don't even have a profile photo. It's a community. Make a little bio. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. And then remember that the community is actually a social network, so you can follow people. Oh, crazy! You can make friends. You can talk to people. There's even a chat thing in the top corner. It's hidden behind this window here if you want to just directly chat with people who maybe aren't on Discord or whatever. So Samuel Dan is from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and works he provides automation and monitoring solutions for HVAC, lighting, and other building subservices. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. It sounds like he works in a building and does automation stuff. Like basically, instead of having a smart house, he manages a smart building, which is pretty dope. He started out home labbing with Home Assistant. Now he's here, and as technology is moving from automation and smart stuff into edge and cloud, is exploring Kubernetes, and that's how he found the community. So everybody, say hello to Samuel Dan, who also is a metalhead. Love it. Next up. Somebody knew this was going to happen. Nuno. Nuno is some kind of super genius or something. I don't even know. But we had this conversation about Swarm a while ago where I was like, Swarm, boo, nobody uses Swarm. And somehow that evolved into this idea of could you use Swarm as a foundation layer for Kubernetes? And I gave it no further thought than that, but Nuno went off and built it. And not only built it, but made a blog that it's one of those things that like I don't have time to scroll through all of this. It's amazing. WSL as the foundation, so it's running in Windows, combining Hyper-V and stuff running directly in WSL using Supermagic that's not even possible, then installing Swarm on multiple virtual machines, and then putting a multi-cluster kind cluster on top of it using the Swarm overlay network for communication between the two virtual machines that shouldn't even be allowed to talk to each other in the first place. I'm speechless. Even if you have no interest in duplicating this, just go read it. I'll have it up in the community site later. You can post a link to it in the chat if you want. And then, of course, it'll go out in the tweets tomorrow. It's amazing. I was going to use another word, but I'm not allowed to swear on the show. Not that I'm not allowed to, but wow. Yeah, so this is super cool. Lots of troubleshooting stuff, lots of step-by-step, lots of everything you need to go and figure this out. And if you try it and it doesn't work, then you know who to go and he would love it if people came back with questions. So there you go. Check out the rest of his blog. It's also pretty amazing. Yesterday, Mac posted this in response to the machine learning faces thing that I had. This is an article about GPT-3, which GPT-3 is not actually new news. It was new news a few months ago, but because the New York Times is doing artificial intelligence articles, they have an article about it. If you don't know about GPT-3, it's worth reading the article, and then it's worth going and looking at some of the stuff that GPT-3 can do. It's not perfect, but they've fed it enough information that it can write poetry, it can write blog articles. I've read some of the blog content that it's written, and it's decent, which means one of two things, or maybe two of two things. It means that it can write blog articles that pass as having been written by a human, and we would assume that that means that it actually knows what it's talking about. But it doesn't. It's just you feed it a question, and it takes all of this information that it's built and established associations and relationships with, and it spits out what it presumes is intelligent content. Which may very well mean that many of us who create content also have no idea what we're doing. If a bot who simply read every article on Wikipedia can write content as good as like somebody who's been blogging or has a degree in journalism, we're all going to be out of a job. Now, GPT-3 is not perfect. Depending on what you ask it, if it doesn't know anything, it actually behaves like a really stupid IRC bot that just repeats stuff back to you, or maybe that's like a 3-year-old child. What is imagination? What's imagination? You should tell me. You should know. No, you should know. You're the one who knows what imagination is. What do you think it is? The problem is it's a bot, so while you can't punch it in the face, you can just delete it. It's also apparently got some bias because machine learning models pick up the bias of the information that you feed it, and that's something that you need to be careful with if you're feeding content into a machine learning model. You need to feed it lots of content so that it builds a balanced understanding of stuff, because they're machines. They're not subjected to any type of morality or any of the human stuff that allows us to make better decisions. But come on, we're right at the very beginning of this as technology, and it's a good bit of foreshadowing. Oh my gosh, is that Ashton Kutcher? He's like 12 years old. Oh man, if you're not in the live chat, it's hysterical. Anyway, so yeah, GPT-3 is pretty dope, and it's just going to get better. Now, I don't know how people get access to GPT-3. I would really love to have it to play with. I made a joke yesterday that I would love if it could just do my show for me. But yeah, whatever it costs, I can't afford it. Patreon! That's it. That's going to be, if you give me money for this tier, once we get like enough money, I'm going to get GPT-3. Next up, what do we got? Ooh. All right, so next we have the A/B test. The collector bots gather candidates for the show. Trufflebot scores them from 1 to 5 coffees, corresponding to a 75 to 100% probability of being interesting content. He'll post them one at a time in the A/B test channel on Discord, and I load them up. Anyone watching live and also in Discord can rate them, and then the final scores are shown when we move to the next item. The total rating for all items shown on the show is used to rate the show itself, and in the future, I'll use these to refine the machine learning model that picks content for the show. So, Trufflebot is ready. I'm going to put this down. I like having it to gesture with, because it's like it's a good prop, right? And let's start. We actually don't have a lot of content today because we don't. So, we may make it through all of it, in which case, sock puppets. Now, other than this particular page having the world's worst header as far as color scheme and readability, it's an interesting article. Okay, so somebody said my name. Now I have to go look. Max talking about my glasses. Dude, I'm really trying to avoid going to the eye doctor. I've had good vision, but like I'm over 40, so vision's starting to go to crap. And these are scratched all to heck. And if I go to the doctor, like it's going to take them 6 weeks. Well, it took them 6 weeks to get these before COVID. And it's going to take them probably even longer, and they were really expensive. So even though they're all scratched to heck, I just keep suffering. I'm hoping that I can get to the United States in less time than it takes to actually get these fixed. So back over to this. Kata containers are containers that use hardware virtualization technology for workload isolation almost without performance penalties. They're pretty neat. It's like a middle ground between running virtual machines inside of Kubernetes, which, stupid though that sounds, there's actually a valid reason for doing it. And then, of course, just running straight up containers. It gives you access to hardware virtualization if you're running your Kubernetes cluster on bare metal. Now, if you try to go with like nested virtualization, you can expect your performance to go right out the window. And so don't do that. This uses Percona XtraDB cluster as an example, and it shows how to first test that you have the proper virtualization support, how to install and set up the nodes and do all of this stuff, and then how to install the Kata containers runtime. What I didn't know, and what I learned from reading this article, is that with the runtime installed, you have to actually designate that. I thought all containers then use the hardware virtualization, but no. You can just install this runtime into your Kubernetes cluster, and then you can annotate individual workloads, and that selects them to use direct hardware virtualization. So they actually install the Percona XtraDB cluster operator using just the regular container runtime, but then they annotate the workloads so that what it deploys, the actual databases themselves, have direct access to hardware virtualization. Great introduction to Kata containers and the kind of thing that you can just go and run and deploy. And it reminds me that I really need more physical nodes in my house because I run a Proxmox cluster that runs Kubernetes along with some VMs and some LXC containers. And I can't gut that and just build a straight up Kubernetes cluster. I thought about like making a Patreon tier to try and get some hardware, but I've decided to stop. That is like the world's worst dog photo. Who posted that? Wife bot. Please. 1 point for WifeBot. Yeah, I've stopped shipping stuff into Chile. The borders are still closed, the standard postal service is destroyed, and the one way that we had to get stuff in here is now unbelievably expensive, and everybody else figured it out, and so now it's just like totally backlogged. I bought $50 worth of stuff off of Amazon. It took almost 2 months to get here, and it cost me $200 in shipping. So yeah, hopefully I can get to the United States soon enough for that as well. All right, so there you go. Percona extra DB cluster on Kata containers. Next up, what is this? Oh yeah, we've been having a conversation in the community about how one might use, hang on, I'm gonna open my dashboard over here. Dashboard? View. Okay, good, streaming quality is still excellent. About how somebody might use MetalLB with Traffic and possibly get like different ingresses attached to different MetalLB IPs. And we're trying to pick apart various solutions and the origins of the request to figure out if maybe that's even the right way to do it without just wasting resources. And then in that internet universal unconscious way, this popped up yesterday and the bot was like, hey, check this out. Doesn't directly answer the question, but it introduced for me the question of whether service mesh and in particular Istio gateways might fit into this somewhere. In reading the article, I didn't come up with an answer because generally you just have one gateway and it listens on all of the hosts and then it acts as ingress. You can have different egress gateways as well. So it doesn't directly solve the problem, at least the problem that we're talking about in the community. But this article does introduce how you can use a gateway resource with multiple virtual services. I don't work with Istio. Shipwreck is probably watching and he's probably like jumping up and down in his chair being like, I know, like Hermione from Harry Potter. I know. The fact that this article talks about using a gateway with multiple virtual services implies to me that you might have like 10 virtual services and you might want some of them on this gateway and some of them on that gateway or something. I don't know, which is why I thought maybe you could have multiple gateways. Maybe you can. Shipwreck will come and join the conversation and he will tell me that I am wrong or whatever. Otherwise, if you're working with Istio, this is an article on how to map virtual services which have a single, you can't see that highlighted, which have a single host for the selector, and then how to map that to the Istio gateway so that it handles those requests and then sends everything else to 404 hell. Let's vote. The next item is... Oh, this is good. There's one item that... Is this the right thing? Oh, this isn't actually... That's not the right link. What we actually want is the full blog post link. Okay, I'll fix that before it goes up later. I sound surprised about what? That it's cool? Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. Oh, well, okay. The collector bots do their thing. I run it through the machine learning model. It spits out a bunch of stuff, and then I run it through a secondary screening so that I can filter out stuff. But I know that there might be 20 items. Today there's only 9, but there might be 20 items for the show that are eligible, and I don't know what they're going to be. So I read them all, and then there's ones that I hope come up, but I don't have any control over what Trufflebot chooses. So when things come up, my response is genuine. I'm like, oh, this is cool, or this is okay. Because remember, it's 1 to 5 coffees. If Trufflebot says it's 1 coffee, then it's like, it might not be that cool. Or maybe it is. This is about operators. I talk smack about operators because a lot of operator deployments are an operator that deploys one thing, and that's a terrible use of an operator. So operators by themselves, while neat, aren't necessarily the final, the be-all and end-all of what you want to do. But if you're interested in operators, there's no better way to learn something than to just go and do it. This article introduces you to 4 or 5 different ways to go and do it. First, explaining what the heck is an operator. Now, this is written by Hazelcast. Who the heck is Hazelcast? Hazelcast is, what's their title? The leading something or other. They do in-cluster computing in RAM for high-speed stuff. They have a cloud solution. They've got some other stuff. So you want high-speed, scalable, multi-node computing across a cluster. That's their deal. But their article doesn't talk about that. Their article uses their solution as the example of what you might want to deploy, a Hazelcast solution, and it gives you all these different operator ways to do it. I love that. I love companies or people who create content that shows how to solve a problem independent of their solution, because that shows that they just want to help everybody do things better. And if you want to use their solution, cool. But if you have no interest in or use for Hazelcast, this is still a wonderful article. So, explains how the deployment of stuff, they use a really simple example where the operator is just going to allow you to control the number of replicas, or obviously deploy multiples of them, and then they dive right into the multiple ways. Operator SDK using Helm. If your app already has a Helm chart, then it's trivial for you to turn that into an operator. Blam! There you go. Next up, Operator SDK, Ansible. I don't personally get excited by using Ansible to do stuff with Kubernetes. I think that it's the wrong tool for that. But Ansible is now part of Red Hat. Red Hat is OpenShift. The Ansible is baked into their whole OpenShift deployment thing. And so if you are, if you're there with the Ansible, then probably sticking with the tool makes a lot of sense. So here you go. Here's how you do basically the exact same thing with Ansible. Because they use the same deployment methodology throughout the whole thing, it makes it really easy to follow along and do stuff. Operator SDK, go. Go, go, go. Yeah, that's a little bit more complicated. I don't speak Go, but if you do, the Go Kubernetes client functionality is top-notch because Kubernetes is written in Go. You think? Continuing, Operator Framework, COP, which is a terrible acronym for the Kubernetes Operator Pythonic Framework. There's also the Java Operator SDK. And then they get down to if absolutely nothing else works, then you can just do it in a bare programming language. Here's an example to do it in Java. And then they close out the article with, this graph that shows that Go is the most popular one. Go figure. Go figure. And then hints to help you decide which one's the right solution for you. So if you have this, go here. If you have that, go here. If you have that, go over there. Great article. If you know nothing about operators, that's the dude from Encino Man. What was his name? Oh my God, that's like so 80s. That's it. I lost it. 2 points for whoever posted that. No. Anyway, if you're just interested in how operators work, it's a great article. I don't use operators. I don't need them, but it's still good to know what's out there. I'm getting out of this channel. I'm going back to the A/B test channel where there's sanity. We got one more before we get to tool of the day. Okay. I started to say, and I don't think I finished, that tool of the day today, I actually left in the available options. And if it came up, I have a second tool of the day. But because it didn't come up, that's cool. I now have a tool of the day for today, tomorrow, and now I just have to find one for Friday. I saw this and immediately I was like, oh my gosh, somebody doesn't realize that you can use kubectl cp. But actually it starts the article with, if you want to put a file, usually the way to go is kubectl cp. What I did not know is that kubectl cp requires that the target pod container have tar installed. If you don't have tar installed in your container, then, can't use kubectl cp. Not that you probably should be using kubectl cp in the first place, but there's situations where maybe you need to. Not just to put stuff in, but also to get stuff out. And that's probably a more valid reason for troubleshooting or whatever. So this person wrote a bash script, including writing a function to do base64 transcoding in bash that you can use as an alternative to kubectl cp to get stuff into and out of a container. So it'll default to using base64, the base64 binary if that's in the container. But if it's not, hey, no problem. We wrote a function in Bash that'll do it with sed. Pretty cool. Nice article on what was America's Funniest Home Videos had no, it was David Letterman had stupid pet tricks. Dating myself now. Stupid pet tricks. We need like stupid kubectl tricks that are not stupid, like actually useful for edge case scenarios. Clearly he was mad that kubectl cp didn't work somewhere where he needed it, and he's like, I'm never gonna have this problem again. I'm gonna solve it forever, and I'm gonna share it with everybody else. Rock on. Okay, so that's it for the A/B test, which gives today's show an average rating of 3 coffees. That's still quite good. And now, you know what that means. It's time for the tool of the day. Today's tool of the day is quite interesting. It's called kubectl blame. If you're familiar with git blame is a wonderful thing where you're like, who the heck did that? And you run git blame, and it tells you, you run it on a file, and it tells you who committed the revision that had changes to that particular file. Kubectl blame is similar, and I'm not going to play their little Giphy thing, but basically you run kubectl blame against some workload in the cluster. It can be a pod, can be a deployment, can be a whatever, and line by line, it tells you who last made that change and when. And in the thing that's showing here that you can barely see, it shows that it was like kubectl edit, kube controller manager, and various other things. But he demonstrates that he can make a change. I'm assuming it's a he. I should make assumptions. This person, whatever, demonstrates that he can make a change, and then it shows up that he was the one who made the change. Now, the ASCII-NUMA thing doesn't go so far as to show if that's retained or if it shows you the actual origin of the change across multiple people or whatnot, and I haven't tested this out. But because invariably we will all find ourselves in a situation where we'll be like, oh, what? This is a cool tool. You can probably avoid this by just using GitOps, and then you can use git blame instead. And, well, yeah, and there you go. Oh my gosh, are we going to end the show early? No, we can't. Trufflebot doesn't like Percona? Yeah, Mac, my rating is Trufflebot's rating. I can change that. So Trufflebot, it's not that Trufflebot doesn't like Percona. Trufflebot, we'll switch out of this, and I'll talk for a moment before we end the show. The collector bots pull content, and because it's a natural language processing machine learning model, I have to be careful about what I feed it for training, because text is comprised of a lot of garbage that has no meaning. So what he might look at might be a tweet, or might be the OG description field from the meta tags of an HTML page, or might be, there's I look for little snippets, the title, to try and get a higher quality definition of what the thing is about. If there's just not good stuff, then he might pick out keywords. So he probably got Percona because, I like Percona, and so that was in the training scripts. But if he's unsure, the machine learning model generates a probability number. Probable true, probable false. And the threshold between true and false is actually 65% in the model. So if it's 65% or less, then it's not good content. And probably he gets stuff wrong, but I don't go digging around in there because it's mostly garbage. And then I only take anything that's 76% or higher and put it on the show. So I filter it all out. And so, I mean, honestly, even though it's one coffee, 76% likely to be interesting. Where did that article go? 76% likely to be interesting. That's good. That's a passing grade. If you got 76% in all of your classes in university, you would still graduate. So it seems like it's a good threshold to hold it at. And I actually would prefer stuff in the 2 to 3 range, because a lot of what he scores as 5 has content that's just been keyword stuffed. Like, I try to filter out hashtags and I try to filter out stuff, but sometimes he just grabs things that are designed for SEO value and not for actual content. So there you go. Thank you for helping me end the show not on time by talking to me about Trufflebot. Ah, yes. So that is all for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Links to everything I talk about on the show go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io after the show ends. Come join us. Community members get early access to the links, video replay, and other exclusive content. And if you make a bio for yourself, you might even get pulled up on the show. If you have something you'd like for me to consider for the show, hit me up and let me know. Remember, tomorrow is the hot seat. So join the live chat on Discord. There will be a short giveaway and you might win, in which case you will have the opportunity to join me live on the show and do the A/B test with me together. How awesome is that? So yeah, if you have something you'd like for me to consider for the show, you can hit me up, you can let me know, you can post it on the community site. And I'm actually, what do y'all think about just a channel in Discord for posting that stuff as well? Now, I think the community site. I don't know. Let me know where you think it would be better. Yeah, so that's it. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning. I will see you in the next show. If you're going home for Thanksgiving, if you're watching in the Americas, stay safe, please. It's a terrible time out there. And for everybody, stay caffeinated.